Hello, welcome to Apex Racing TV. iRacing Lum Suit here at Motegi. I'm Patrick. Alongside me is Tyler Vickery with Sam Kume on the cameras this evening. And it's a sunset race today, Tyler, around this very unique circuit. It's got the classic Japanese tarmac, of course, a little bit slick, as we've learned over the years. And it's, yeah, just a unique blend, of course, but in these cars, usually does work very well.
Yeah, absolutely, especially with the GTE cars, as they'll probably be a little bit more, can be able to be a little bit more aggressive and has some more cleaner times. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes, as I'm looking at the lineups right now. LMP2s are a little small again for the HPD field, as we only have 6, but there is one driver I do not see on there, and it's almost, to me, that's a little bit of a shocker.
Yeah, Johan Half not around today in the LMP2s, which is very rare. Cannot remember the last time he missed one of these races, actually. So a bit disappointed not to see him out there, but we seem to have a pretty competitive field anyway. Robert Tinsley currently in pole position in that class, ahead of Carlo Barti and Neil Andrews. Those two very much regulars. Also, Diego Moya and Ime Hayden have got very good drivers. Actually, a very competitive HPD field, which is good. And of course, the driver that you're watching right now, Samuel Roth, currently on pole position alongside Josh Thompson. See a lot of around this around Apex Racing TV as well. Of course, unfortunately, Tyler, this is going to be our last race covering this series for now, at least. We've got the World F3 Championship, apologies, next week. Which is going to clash with this, so we might be able to return to this series at some point. But unfortunately, we're going to this is going to be our last week for now, so a bit of a somber note today. But it'll be nice to at least say goodbye to the series.
Yeah, absolutely. It's still a great series to watch. I'm really excited for the Formula 3 series that we've got slated for next week. It's gonna be really interesting to see what happens with that series, and it's gonna be fun as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, we had the media day for the World GT Championship a couple of days ago, and of course that worked very well. I'm sure the World F3 Championship, something like 40 drivers signed up for that, so that would be very good. But of course, we'll go on this series. We've got one more minute to go qualifying in the championships. It's very close in the LMP1s at least. Matt Farrell leading the way ahead of Patrick Wolf and Erwin Woodster. In the HPDs, the P2 class, Timo Hayden is leading the way there, ahead of Neil Andrew and of course Johan Hart, the two-time defending champion. A little bit detached those two, and of course he's not here today, so it's going to be difficult for him to bring that back currently, but of course a long way to go in a season. We're only about halfway through. And in the GTEs, Florian Dienard currently with the advantage, quite a healthy advantage actually, over Jason Dyer and Brabek, who are just coming to the end of qualifying now. Of course, a full formation, I think that's... oh no, it's not a full formation lap, it's only cars. But we'll go through the grid in a second. And it's Matt Farrell on pole position, championship leader on the front row alongside Martin Christiansen. And then on the second row, Nicholas Schneider and Dylan Mann. The rest of that build going through for you now. And then in the P2 class, Robert Tinsley, a driver that we haven't seen too much out there this season, but he is on pole position there. Neil Andrews in second, with Carlo Barti third, and Diego Moya in fourth. Very competitive field. That Timo Hayden, course championship leader, he's right at the back, quite remarkable. In the GTEs, Samuel Roth just about beating Josh Thompson to the pole position, and there's Aiden Campbell and Jez Lanza on second. Of course, the multi-class factor is always very important. So, Tyler, do you expect the drivers in the prototypes to be able to kind of lap the GTs quite simply today, or could we perhaps see a few issues out there?
We might see a few issues, but I think there's, especially with we have a lot of straight line speed here with Twin Ring Motegi. We got at least 3 or 4 decent straightaways that the LMP1s can be able to use that boost in time it wisely on trying to make the overtakes as clean as possible. It's going to be interesting, and also too, I just noticed as well, an LMP1 familiar face isn't here either, Patrick Wolf. So it's going to be pretty interesting with the LMP1 field. Is I have a feeling we might just see Matt just fly away from the rest of the field, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt is usually a rival to Patrick Wolf, the shows. Martin Christian, so we haven't seen too much of him this season. Maybe he'll be able to put up a fight. He was within a second of her in qualifying, which in the LMP1 is often quite a small margin. So yeah, just still lining up. We will be able to pull away. So of course, only a few corners to execute before we get going, and in the other two classes, it's going to be ever so close. Do you think Robert Tinsey is going to be able to hold off the more experienced drivers like Andrews and Labarthe, or is that lack of experience going to be a bit costly?
I want to say probably lack of experience, especially being in this kind of field, might be the lack, but it'll be interesting. I'm gonna be curious to see how it is. I mean, he's up there with iRating as well, and he's got some decent safety rating. So it definitely shows he's a clean driver. So it'll be interesting to see how he fares against Neil Andrews and even Timo Hayden as well. So it'll be very interesting to see how the start goes for the LMP2 field.
Absolutely. But firstly, the P1s, Matt Farrow on pole position. Could see a few issues around that final chicane. It's a very unique corner. Farrow is still holding it. He's waiting for a while. The green flag not out yet. I think he has now put his foot down. The HPD side have already gone. This could be a little bit problematic. We've seen issues like this before, but fortunately, the P1s pull away nice and quickly. So Farrow away well, and UCP and Ragazzi just getting up a couple of positions. Not too much change in the P2s. Tinsey still leading the way. Labarthe has got past, Hayden's got past Melvo. I believe it's going a little bit chaotic there. Of course, right on the tail of the P1s and the GTEs, just at the standings. Not too much change there either. Samuel Roth still leading the way. Big pressure from Josh Thompson.
Yeah, that LMP2 field, it was like the I want to say it was Carlo Labate, Timo Hayden, and William Dreyer going 3 wide there, coming into that little second turn. That was very scary, but they were able to keep it all nice and clean. So it's a great start by all of the drivers, especially when the LMP2 field caught up to the LMP1s, as Farrow was a little bit hesitant on the start there.
Yeah, really hesitant. Can't just wait till the green flag, and yeah, the HPDs play misinterpreted that. The big gainer in the P1s is Carlo Yusubi, currently up 2 positions. Of course, the driver that we were just looking at, Diego Miller, getting ahead of Carlo Labarthe. Labarthe, probably one of the favourites out. They did win a race, I think, a couple of weeks ago. So, you know, he's in good form, definitely Carlo, but down in 4th position currently in the HPDs. It's going to be difficult for do too much from that position. And in the GTEs, Andres Lanza has dropped down the field. He started near the front, but he seems to be towing back to the pits. He's the only kind of big issue driver that we've had so far.
Yeah, absolutely is. We're looking now at Josh Thompson, trying to find a way around Samuel Roth, but as we've seen from previous times, Josh Thompson's had a little bit quicker lap times, but at the same time, he's been a little hesitant at the start, just trying to save a little extra fuel than his opponents and then take advantage while he can. Saw that firsthand, especially I believe it was Nürburgring last week, and he can definitely show he's got the pace, but he's better at strategy-wise on trying to make sure to save the fuel as much as possible. He's given Samuel a good 0.3 of a second gap, and he's just holding it right there for now. Hasn't tried to make any kind of opportunity on an overtake yet, but probably within another 10 minutes or so, we might see Josh make that overtake move.
Yeah, that could certainly be the case. Really showing his class in this car so far. He's, of course, preparing for the World GT Championship. He was very strong the other day, taking pole by 0.4 of a second over, you know, like the likes of Nicole Foggy, Alex Simpson, of course, our co-commentator at Apex Racing TV. So very quick in this car is Josh, but he's not having it all his own way currently. As yeah, still a little bit behind Samuel Roth. Pretty much the only battles going on out there, or the closest battles at least. There are a few packs of cars, but this is the closest in terms of the gap.
Oh, never mind. At first I looked on live timing, I saw Matt Farrow drop all of a sudden, but then he went right back up to the top, so my live timing was acting up there first.
He is being pushed by Martin Christiansen at the moment, the gap staying around a second. We wait to see if that's just a temporary gap between these two. As we see a gap between these two, there's barely anything. And Josh Thompson, I think, might just be going through here past Samuel Roth. I did say earlier how we could see incidents at that final chicane. Well, we've just seen a potentially race-deciding overtake there from Josh Thompson. He had to get creative, and he's pulled it off.
Yeah, that was a great overtake there by Josh, as I believe we're looking at a replay. No, never mind. This is still live. But yeah, just great overtake move. Josh felt that it was probably the best opportunity to take that pass. And made the best of it. Now we'll see how quickly he'll be able to pull away from Samuel Roth, as Samuel Roth's going to do everything he can to stay in that slipstream of Josh Thompson and pull away from the rest of the GTE field.
Yeah, he's going to have to push real hard now as Samuel Roth, if he's going to be able to keep up with the Englishman. I think he's English. Is he English? No, I think he lives on the Isle of Man, actually, does Josh Thompson.
Yeah, I think so. I believe so.
I had to send him a hat one time as a victory token. He did get it. I also don't want to nick up Foggy. Unfortunately, didn't make a bit disappointing. But there you go. Josh Thompson got a crisp hat from me. Well, that was a weird tangent. Samuel Roth, well, he's already half a second behind. So, well, we have got a few straights down here. He's got to make the most of that slipstream. Try to keep up with his rival.
Yeah, so we're looking further back now in the GTE field. We got a nice little three-car battle here with 24 of Marcus Diz and Ewan Marshall in the 25, and just behind him is the 15 of Zachary Hefner. Looks like decent battle going on right now, as it looks like 24 is slowly pulling away from Ewan Marshall and coming into that little tricky chicane here, heading back to the start-finish line. It seems like the 24 of Marcus Thies just having a little bit better run going through there, unlike Edwin Marshall and Zachary Hefner are.
Yeah, Marshall dropped down a couple of positions on that lap, as yeah, we see Hefner getting really close to the back of Marshall, and yeah, ever so close between the pair of them. Currently, can he go for? Maybe he can go for a bit of a lunge around a couple of these corners. But of course, it's a relatively narrow exit, so you don't want to get on that grass, otherwise that can cost you seconds. As Hefner, again, really close down to just 0.2 of a second. Waits behind his rival, but he's got to be careful on the brakes. He's driving very close, quite confident where he is going to brake and where opponent's going to brake. So getting very close on the brakes, to see, just dropping back a little bit through this part of the circuit. And of course, needs to use that Ferrari advantage. All these GT cars really closely matched at the moment, it seems. Maybe the Ford with a small advantage. But it is great to see so many different main being represented out there.
Absolutely. It just looks like, as we're watching the onboard for Zachary Hefner, it looks like he's not really confident with the setup as much. He's feathering the throttle a little bit in certain corners just to try to get the car to be able to rotate around, especially with how technical this track could be. As the 25 of Ewan Marsh is just pulling away from Zachary Hefner even more. So definitely Zachary's struggling with the car. Hopefully he'll be able to figure it out, make some quick adjustments in the pits.
Yeah, whilst that was going on, Aidan Campbell making the move on, defending against Antoine Goulvent. Really close between the two of them. Having to go defensive is Campbell. Wasn't really particularly defensive. He maybe left a couple of meters on the outside, but surprisingly not interested in the move was Goulvent. These two battling, they did change position ever so slightly at the end of the last lap. And again, Goulvent really having the opportunity to go for the move. You can see how close he is. That was so nearly contact. Somehow there wasn't, I think. And, well, we've now got a 4-car chain wreck.
And as these guys are battling, Josh Thompson, Samuel Roth, almost 5-second gap ahead of these guys. So these guys got to really start getting the pace down. Otherwise, Josh Thompson and Samuel Roth are just going to leave these guys behind. Ooh, there for a second there, I thought Antoine Goulvent was gonna take a big dive bomb move there, but thought of it last second, decided not to. So he's definitely pushing the pace on the 18 of Aidan Campbell.
Yeah, it always shocks me how confident these GTE drivers are in one another to brake exactly where they expect, because under the brake, they're just leaving barely a meter between their cars. Perhaps they don't brake maybe a little bit earlier, try to get a slightly better exit, but certainly Gulvant is giving himself an opportunity for a move right now. He's a little bit reluctant to really make the move. This is where he got close on the last lap, and he's looking to the inside on this one, the number 12 car. See the different variations of lines he can take, and actually Gulvant there, slightly tighter on the first part, gave him a slightly better exit to the second. Going into lap 6 now, he's still just as close as he was on the last.
Absolutely, and Gulvant's got to find the way to get around if he wants to try to catch up to Josh Thompson, because right now it seems like Antoine's can run a little bit quicker lap times. Just looking at the lap times comparisons right now, Antoine's running a little bit quicker than Campbell by about a tenth of a second or so. But at the same time, you can see Josh Thompson, Samuel Roth, they're in the 145s as well now, as we got another late dive bomb move by, I believe that was the 14 or the 7. Great overtake further back. I believe that was 7 of Marion Barback being able to overtake Dennis Neidhart there for 5th overall, I'm sorry, for GTE cars.
Yeah, Brabek making some good progress at the moment through the field, up 8 places from his start. So clearly, I think he messed up both of his quali laps. I looked to see, yeah, he did. Yeah, his first one invalidated, and then he did complete his second one. As the LMP1's now going through the field, this could potentially mix it up a little bit. Still really close between the LMP1s. Really, the entire field is well, the top 5 I think are separated by about 7, which is, you know, pretty close. As we see, used to be under big pressure from Man. Man started ahead of used to be, but used to be had an excellent start.
Oh, look out!
Oh, Man's brakes were good there because he was pretty late.
Yeah, I saw the Porsche getting on the brakes there, and boy, I for a second there, I thought the Porsche was going to have some really unfortunate luck there from the LMP. As this battle's getting really intense now. Dylan's wanting to do everything possible to try to get around the 16, especially while going through lap traffic.
Yeah, he's been right on his tail for the entire race so far, as they once again go past the GT. He's going quite fortunate right now with this traffic, not losing too much time. It's really deep on the brakes, as Man. And I thought he may have even locked those brakes. They do have a very sophisticated ABS system, as we just see a move in the background. I think that was Campbell versus Brabek.
Yeah, I think that was actually, I think that was the Gulvant getting around Campbell because of the whole the LMP1, just from Dylan locking up or actually not locking up, more like overtaking there, has really thrown Campbell off guard. He's lost position because of it, as the rest of the LMP1 field's coming by now. So hopefully he might have an opportunity to try to regroup and get back after Gulvant, as looks like now the Barback is looking now, trying to make an overtake move.
Yeah, I think he's got to defend rather than attack right now. As look at Brabek down the inside. There's a LMP1 just behind. It's going to be very inconvenient for him. And well, almost shutting the door there was Campbell. Did well not to go all the way to the inside of the circuit. So again, get overtaken by a couple more LMP1s. And Brabek still not, getting that move done, of course, at the hairpin. And next up for him will be Antoine Gulvant.
Whoa! Dylan Mann's got an issue. Boy, he takes the shortcut. Let's see what happens here. Everything looks fine and dandy. Oh no! Oh, that was big contact. Just made a mistake coming through the last few corners. Got on the grass and just, wow, that's some heavy damage on the front end.
Yeah, it was giving him a chance of maybe the race win. Certainly a podium was looking very possible for Dylan Mann. Maybe I'll have a word on the YouTube chat in a few moments. But yeah, that's gutting for him. And yeah, really does open up that LMP1 field quite a bit. Of course, the drivers do have four-wheel drive at that point, but it's also about 1.2 thousand brake horsepower on the car. So that's not going to work out well the wall he went. So that's pretty much our first retiree in the LP1s. Hopefully we won't have any more from now to the checkered flag. As we just check in on Robert Tinsey, we haven't really looked at these HPDs too much. It's still very competitive though. 2.5 seconds between top two, Tinsey versus Juice. Of course, we had word that Tinsey is actually quite experienced in the Neo Endurance Series, Pop Endurance Series, apart from maybe the official series, but even that it certainly does match. And Diego Melo currently running in 3rd place.
Right now, looking at the lap times, pretty consistent throughout the whole entire HPD field. Every single driver other than the Carlo Labate, Timo Hayden, and William Dreyer all in the 39s. But everyone, the rest of the field, the other half of the HPD field are all running 38s. So still very close lap times by all 6 HPD fields. So it still can be a very close race for all 6 of them.
Yeah, Hayden trying to make his way through the field. How far is he off the lead? 8 seconds.
Yeah, 8 seconds. Yeah, it
so,
looks like it'd be about 8 seconds.
Quite a bit for him to make up. He's not usually necessarily the fastest out there as teammate Hayden, but he puts in some solid performances, and I think he does well in the other splits as well. Sorry, the other races across the week. It's dark now. I've only just noticed it. But we started this race in daylight. We're far from that now, of course. One of the great things about this day-night model, which I think was pretty necessary for iRacing, was to map the dates, timings as well. So, of course, depending on the day that you set the race on, it will have a different sunset and whatnot. So, of course, this one is set on the 13th of January. 2019. It's currently 5:18 in the evening. So anyone in Japan, of course, will be able to see, of course, earlier or in a couple of days how this is exactly matched up, and it's absolutely fantastic. This element that they've added.
Absolutely, yeah. I like this day-night transition. I'm gonna be very curious to see what time of day and what type of day they'll have it set for the 24-hour Daytona races. A lot of the times, especially know how these day-night transitions are, and especially with how the real-life timing is here in Florida, where I live. It's going to be interesting. So I'm going to be really excited because even though at the same time for me though, if they set the timing right, the only time I'll probably be able to run is during the night. So that's the only bummer there. But I'll take advantage of it while I can.
Well, I really want them to, set the time of day correct, so that it starts at, I guess it would be 7 o'clock in the morning, in Florida. So to be accurate like that, but well, I don't think they're going to do that. But it would be a fantastic element if they did.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I know the real life race usually starts about 2 o'clock Eastern time here in the States, so it'll be interesting to see how they have it set, because that'll be real fun for me.
Yeah, it'd be awesome to see the sunset on the sim and also on the game simultaneously. Would be absolutely awesome. But of course, this is pretty good anyway. And of course, yeah, being in January this race, the sun does set very, very quickly. As Marian Brabek still under big pressure from Gourvon, so he's actually got that move done. Into the top 3 is Brabek, considering that he started last out of everyone. That's not a bad effort. Unfortunately, from his perspective, he's 12 seconds off the race. Realistically, he's not going to be able to catch that. As we see an overtake of how he got it done. This is where he actually got the move done for 4th place, and well, he did the same move soonly for 3rd, much later on the brakes. Had a lot more speed. That was very nice done, Marian.
Absolutely, and the 12 actually made a mistake there. He went a little wide coming out of the corner heading towards the hairpin. So it was a little bit of a mistake there, and Barbek took advantage of it while he could. That was a great overtake by him as well.
we'll just take this opportunity to say thanks for everyone who's tuned in and liked this video. Got 12 likes so far. Make that 13. Of course, and about 50 people watching. So do very much appreciate it. Of course, this will probably be our last ILMS broadcast for a little bit as we're moving to the World F3 Championship next Wednesday. But yeah, certainly do like the video if already not subscribe to our channel and like our Facebook page as well. Yeah, of course, Coolfont now behind Biabek. Fantastic battling actually this, isn't it? Biabek, Coolfont, Campbell, Neidhart, and Deck and Hefner as well. All in a line. Yeah, but of course in this GT car, notoriously difficult to overtake. That's what they're finding right now. So that's Marcus Deck fine.
I mean, looking at it too, from third place down to where Marcus Deck is only not just barely a 3-second gap overall. So still very close racings, and it's still a close fight for podium, as long as everyone runs clean and doesn't make any mistakes. And pit strategy will be very key if it stays like this.
Yeah, we'll be interested to see if anyone comes into the pits a little bit early, as we see Dylan Mann fortunately managing to get back out on circuit. A little bit surprised, but clearly just being able to replace the bodywork, the engineers there, and he's back out on track, up into 12th place overall. He's only got a couple more HPDs to pass, and then he'll be ahead of all the P2s and the GTEs. Unfortunately, I don't think he's going to be able to catch up to the back of the LMP1s. Still, he'll be hoping at least there'll be a couple of issues with drivers, and maybe he profits from that.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt Farrow is not that far away behind him, so he does have an opportunity, which I have a feeling with Matt Farrow being 2.8 seconds ahead of the second place car, Martin Christensen. I wouldn't be surprised as if Dylan Mann's able to catch up to Farrow. Farrow might just let him by, which I honestly think would be a smart move by him, because then he could take advantage and try to save a little extra fuel and make it a little bit closer and have a little bit shorter fuel window as well.
Yeah, it will be an interesting element that. Of course, we'll want to unlap himself. There will and he is only 1 lap down, so if he can get back up the lead, that could well be advantageous right at the end of the race if anyone runs out of fuel or something. We see Farrow now under a little bit of pressure. Under pressure, but he's trying to get these moves done on the GTEs. He's got a slalom through, and this is the difficulty of this section of circuit. It's one way, and well, he's lost a little bit of time there. Gap between the two leaders was close to 3 seconds. It's back down to 2 seconds now, as he's looking to get past some of these HPDs as well.
Yes, he was able to get around the leading HPD of Robert Tinsley, but boy, having to get around those GTE cars as well, that was very, very scary as well. I believe that was second place of Samuel Roth. I believe that was there. I'm not 100% sure which car that was, but it was a Ford GTE car. Okay, it wasn't Samuel Roth. So definitely it was interesting trying to make that overtake move.
Yeah, here's a gap. Yep, momentarily went back up to 2 seconds. It's really just an ebb and flow. How fortunate you are with the traffic. So some points, of course, Farrow will extend his lead, and some points it will come down. Just now it's gone up to 2.3 seconds again, extended by about half a second in a matter of a couple of corners. Vincent, as you saw, lost a bit of time, but no cars between the pair of them now, I think, apart from Dylan Mann. So, yeah, not too much for Martin to deal with. Schneider has got a little bit detached. Now 3 seconds off, but certainly there. Pick up the pieces if anything happens.
As I believe Dylan has gotten his lap back, I believe, as well. I missed it last second, but with Christensen catching up to Farrow right now, only 2.5 seconds behind. Oh, actually, as Farrow has not gotten, as Dylan hasn't caught back up yet. He's still about a second behind, but with Christensen catching up now, it's going to be it's going to be interesting to see how this falls into play with Dylan Mance trying to fight to get his lap back, as we're now looking at the 12 now coming into the pits. Early pit stop here as well, as they still got 40 minutes to go in the race.
Yeah, very early there from Antoine. That's pretty much as, yeah, pretty much as early as he could come in. Seemingly a normal pit stop, 10 seconds of fuel. So, oh, I don't know. That couldn't be a stop-go penalty or something, could it? Because 10 seconds seems a little bit short. Not quite sure.
Maybe he got a cutting the course penalty, and he wasn't a slowdown penalty, and he wasn't able to, be able to get it down in time. But yeah, that's very odd. Because I don't see any damage on that car from what I'm looking at.
Yeah, it is possible to pick up maybe a slowdown through that final chicane, so we'll have to wait and see with that one for Antoine, because that does just seem a little bit short for me, but let's wait see later on. Well, of course, either way, it's odd to pit this early on, but he was in a big pack of traffic, kind of just falling down the field. A couple of drivers out to were behind him, managed to get past him, but yeah, we'll see how his race goes on from here. In terms of the battles out there, calm down a little bit. Closest to drivers are Ewan Marshall and Zachary Hefner, half a second between the pair. The Porsche versus who that is a Ferrari behind. So yeah, those two manufacturers, and they have got a little bit detached from the rest of the field. But yeah, no fuss between these two. They have been nose to tail with pretty the entire race.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, right now, the gap between the rest of the field is both Ewan Marshall and Zach Hefner are fighting. These guys are about 4 seconds behind Marcus Deck and Dennis Neidhart now. These guys are still having a great battle against each other for, I believe it's 7th place. So still an awesome battle to watch between these two guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks to James King. Penalties are 15-second holds, apparently. So, assuming that was then some fuel for Antoine Coulvant. So maybe that's not all doom for him, and hopefully we'll find himself maybe even on the podium later on. Hefner was ever so close to the back of Marshall into turn. Still name corner turns here, isn't it? I'll call that turn 4. And yeah, of course you can't just say the hairpin as well, because pretty much all these corners are hairpins. But going into this hairpin, at least he's almost in range, but just a little bit too far. We'll have to wait until the next hairpin.
Yeah, looks like you and Marshall had a little bit better run coming out of that corner, so we'll see as he comes into the second to last corners. Just keeping it nice and smooth, Hefner, so gonna try to keep as straight as he can going through the chicane here. Looks like he's close up a little bit. He might get a little bit of draft if he can get that run out of the coming in down to the start-finish line. He might have an opportunity to make an overtake here.
Yeah, just ran a little bit wide, losing a little bit of traction. Did Ewan Marshall. That allowed Hefner to get ever so slightly closer, of course. The slipstream in this car is, well, it's realistic. It's not like the Radical SR8, of course. Me and the entire will be in that car tomorrow. It's our Radical series, but of course that's got a very overpowered slipstream model. But of course this is much more realistic, which is good to see. Right now, I think Hefner would be quite happy if it wasn't very realistic, because otherwise it would be quite easy for him to make the overtake. But as it is, he's just having to sit behind his rival.
Absolutely. As the team was coming into the first few turns, Hefner almost got into the back of Ewan Marshall there for a second, but he's able to keep enough room to where he can be able to not make any contact, and is back on it again.
Also quite close currently between Neidhart and Deck. further up in the GTE field. And also a bit of a battle going on between Andy Pers, who I don't think we've mentioned so far today. He's against Janos out there. Both of them made pit stops seemingly. So I don't know what issues had occurred for them. What's their pace like? They're relatively similar pace actually to the big pack of drivers ahead of them. So not uncompetitive by any means. But they both have had issues. So they find themselves on the same piece of tarmac currently.
Absolutely, as all of them, as our eyes in the sky was telling us, that they both had about 10 seconds of fuel for each. So it'd be kind of definitely interesting with how quickly that they're coming in and leaving for fuel. As we're getting nearing the halfway point, I wouldn't be surprised then if we start seeing some of the GTE field coming in, but it just still seemed a little early. I mean, that's a big risk for some of these GTEs for Yarnos and Pears and Golovin as early as they pitted. So it's be really interesting strategy-wise to see if this works out for them.
Yeah, we've seen some plenty of intervals in the GTE field. I think last season it was mainly just drivers running till the absolute, every drip of fuel, and pretty much everyone would pit on the same lap with about 15 minutes to go. But this season, I think it's been a lot different, and maybe it's just the difficulty of overtaking drivers' feelings. Like rather than getting the move done on circuit, they'd rather get in the pits. We haven't checked in on our race leaders. For a while. So Matt Bow is currently leading, and by 8 seconds, well, he's really turned the screw. In that last lap, he was 1.3 seconds faster than second place man Martin Christiansen. So he was under a little bit of pressure when he went through the traffic. Since then, though, he has been absolutely dominant and certainly establishing his authority. Schneider, in fact, pressurizing Christiansen a little bit. That could be an interesting battle for second. Third in the P2s, still it is Robert Tinsey leading the way in that class, ahead of Neil Andrews. The gap between those two is 6 seconds currently, and then it's Diego Melro in third place, rounding out the podium. Getting a little bit interesting actually behind that. Melro, Labate, Hayden and Dyer. Or maybe not Hayden, but Hayden and Dyer getting a little bit closer to one another. Apologies. So that could be an interesting battle coming up. And then in the GTEs, Josh Thompson leading the way. He's now 6 seconds ahead of Samuel Roth. Really is establishing his authority, showing his overwhelming pace that we saw in the World GT Championship a couple of days ago, ahead of Samuel Roth, with Marian Brabek now pulling away from the rest of the drivers in third position.
Yeah, but it looks like we're definitely seeing our usual guys running with a quick pace, especially Thompson, just absolutely just decimating the field right now. I mean, granted, the 7 as actually now Timo Hayden's coming into the pits now. He's the first of the LMP2s to come into the pits, so pit stops definitely coming now for a lot of these HPD fields, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, Timo Hayden was falling backwards, so I wonder if he maybe had a little bit of damage on that car, because he was under pressure from dropping to the last driver in the HPD class. Of course, that's not like him, the championship leader. But he is back out, not a particularly long stop, only 18.5 seconds. So not too big issues there, and we'll hope to see him at the front by the end of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see if that pit stop can potentially help Timo Hayden try to get back up to finish in third, or at least a podium spot, as we're looking at a battle now for against Yarnos and Pears. Oh, look out. That's not good. Yeah, someone's not happy with Pears after getting shoved out of the way, in my opinion. Yeesh.
Yeah, that was quite ugly. Andy Pears seemed to be a little bit deep on the brakes, I think, and did push Janos off the circuit. You really ought to leave at least a car's width. Janos looks to the inside. A little bit of a block as well from Pears there. Maybe a little bit of a change of direction. It was trying to solve the dummy. There was Janos, and all of a sudden, tempers boiling over, and he nearly makes contact to P1 as well. Well, this one is turning into a bit of a straight opera all of a sudden as cones fly off into the distance. Nachos Janos is going to be desperate now to get that move done on anti-Pers.
Yeah, Janos is not a happy camper. Every time he's closed in on Andy Paris, he's been flashing his lights at him left and right. So you can definitely tell by his mood. It's definitely has changed very quick.
Well, I'm sure he's got the pace to be able to make back that gap. Also, getting very close just ahead, Marcus Deck and Aiden Campbell, is into the pit. So that was why I was getting very close. Also, Marshall versus Hefner all of a sudden. Hefner's on tail. But yeah, of course, Campbell into the pits. Now, where will Campbell be in comparison to Goulvant? I think he's behind him. So that's actually really good for Goulvant.
Campbell, his pit stop was 17 seconds. So that was a 7-second difference there. Campbell is only 1.1 seconds behind the last we're looking at the timing, but that's still very interesting, though, seeing how big of a time difference that was between refueling the cars. Oh. That's not good.
Yeah, Campbell is out of the race. It's not a connection error, seemingly. He has decided to manually disconnect from the session, so we didn't see him hit anyone. Maybe something external in the real world maybe had to address, and out of the race. Unfortunately, he was having a great run, putting himself maybe with an opportunity of podium. Certainly, 4th place was second place strong for him. Of course, not anymore. So hope to see, hope to see Aiden, of course, back on Apex Racing TV soon, but seems to be his day over.
Absolutely, definitely. Hopefully, everything's all right in real life, because man, that's usually never a good sign, especially if you see someone jump out of the race early and they're running really decent as well. So definitely gives advantage to the rest of these drivers.
Yeah, we'll promote the majority of the GTE field 1 position. Pretty much all the battles still going on in the GTEs, and this one's reigniting a little bit. Needhart versus Deck, pretty much just been expanding and getting larger and bigger. A bit of a cat and mouse effect currently between these two. This battle now for 4th position. Now that we've lost a couple of drivers, so yeah, all of a sudden quite a handy position available for one of these drivers, being held by Dennis Neidhart. Also really close game between Marshall and Hefner. I saw it momentarily go down to 0.2 of a second, but just expanding game. These drivers happily staying close to one another, but we're seeing a lack of overtakes apparently. Also, Janos is still staying very close to Andy Pers. Gap between those two only half a second still. So they're not giving up on one another, certainly. So they've just gone up to 1 second now as they have to, as they get lapsed by the HPDs. So Janos is going to be desperate to get that one done by the end of the race, to be a little bit of vengeance from what we saw earlier on.
Absolutely, as Diego Melrose coming out of the pits now. 25-second stop there, which that was definitely a lot longer than Timo Hayden's, but he is right now, based on the timing, he is in front of Timo Hayden, so it's going to be interesting now to see how the rest of this field, the rest of the HPD field are. Right now, from Diego to Robert Tinsley, he's only 43 seconds behind, but with the way these pit stops are, it can definitely throw a interesting strategy in there if anyone makes a mistake.
Yeah, Robert should have this one sewn up as long as he doesn't make a mistake. He's now 7.5 seconds ahead of Neil Andrews, his closest competitor. Of course, the Melray Labartzi battle will be one to watch. Currently, half a minute between those two. Labartzi with a pit stop to make. As will we see him in on this lap? Yes, we will. Very unique pit in. It's a very narrow road, you do kind of cut the grass if you really want to, and I think you get away without a penalty as well. So you can kind of save yourself a couple of seconds. We've seen that being taken advantage of in BSR before. As Labate stops, he'll be hoping to get out of Diego Mello.
Yep, that's now we're looking at Yarnos again, and it looks like Yarnos had an issue as he's now 8 seconds behind as we're looking at a replay now. See what in the world happened. Oh, just went a little wide. Oh boy. Didn't touch the wall, so that was a great save there. And was able to get back on it, but wow, that could have been disastrous for Yarnos, but at least he still has a clean car and he's able to get back out on track.
Yeah, his mission to overtake Pers may have taken a he's now 8 seconds behind him. So a while to catch for Nacho, and he doesn't seem to have much of a pace advantage. Melro versus Labate. Melro is ahead of Labate only by 1 second, though, less than 1 second. So it really is close between the pair of them. And, well, this one certainly isn't over, but of course, maybe that advantage that Labate had has all of a sudden been taken away, as Tinsley is now into the pits. So Andrews may take the lead for a couple of corners. No, he's into the pits as well. So top two, the only front runners yet to make the stop, now making that.
Yep, as now Neil Andrews trying to make sure he can get every little speed as he can with that speed limiter, and comes into his box perfectly. Let's see who can get out first. If Andrews can be able to pull something out and be able to get out in time, no, as Robert Tinsley takes off now.
Yeah, it's absolutely agonizing to be in that situation. You're seeing your fellow driver pull away whilst you're completely stationary. You don't want to take any more fuel. You think, do I really need, fuel? You do. And, well, Neil Andrews thankfully has got some now in that tank. He should get to the end of the race. But he is still, well, he's a little bit closer now. He is now down to 6 seconds rather than the 8 it was previously. But I think he's going to have to settle for second place.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one nice thing, too, looking at it, from pit cone to pit cone, Robert Tinsley's time was 40.7. I mean, and then Neil Andrews, his was a 38.9. So he just in that spot alone, Neil Andrews gained 2 seconds on Tinsley, even though he only lost 1/10 of a second in pit time sitting in his pit box. As Robert Tinsley's time was 14.6 and Neil Andrews was 14.7. So that pit entrance that Andrews had, that was perfect for him, and he was able to gain two seconds there. And who knows, he might have a good chance of catching up to Tinsley if Tinsley makes any mistakes.
Well, I think your point there links to one of the questions on the chat also. Why did he change gears? Well, if you do change gears, it can give you about 1 mile an hour extra speed. The way that iRacing speed limits, you're limited to about 60, or is that kilometers per hour? I'm not quite sure. And by changing the gears, you can gain about 2 kilometers an hour. You can just go over the limit without getting a penalty. And well, that's what Neil Andrews is doing. And maybe that's a contribution to that 2 seconds that he gained.
Yeah, absolutely. As I do that in a lot of my endurance races as well. It's if you just hold on the speed limiter the whole time, if you're on the pit limiter and you don't change gears or anything, that pit limiter will actually have you down to, as we're gonna look towards Zach Hefner looking around trying to get around you and Marshall there, being very aggressive at the time. Getting back to what I was saying real quick, if you just stay on the pit limiter and not change gears, or you just keep your foot fully on the throttle, that pit limiter speed will have you at 1 mile an hour slower, which I believe in kilometers is only about 3 or 4 kilometers difference, but that still makes a big difference being in the pits a little bit longer. So when you shift between first gear and second gear, like what Andrews did, you're either getting yourself to where you're exactly at the pit limiter, or getting yourself just that 1 mile an hour, or just a little bit over where the penalties won't kick in if you're over that speed limit, as you're right at that mark now, so that's where he was able to take a lot of his time at.
Yeah, of course, if you watch the World Championship Series, all the drivers will do that, okay? The extra 10. Of course, in this race, not quite as closely matched to the drivers. We have got a few gaps up there, as, yeah, and so, but still taking advantage of that, actually. So, of course, if we win this race by a couple of seconds, we can certainly put it down to the use of those gears in the pit lane. All the LMP1s now pit, so they all went as far as they possibly could. All pit. Saying that Macro still leading the way. He's now 22 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. Christensen now right on the tail of Schneider.
And Christensen must have had a really bad pit entry or something, as looking at the pit times, as Christensen just goes really aggressive getting around Schneider as quick as possible. Pit lane time, Christensen was a 42.4, while all of the rest of the GT, out of all of the rest of the LMP1s, everyone else was below 40 seconds. So definitely Christensen had some kind of issue coming in at pit road that really cost him a lot of time.
Yeah, could have well missed his spots as we wait and see. I really hope I'm correct here. Yeah, I was correct.
Yeah.
There you go.
Wow.
You don't see that often, do you? Me being correct. Martin Christensen missing it. And, well, it could be costly. He did momentarily fall behind Nicholas Schneider, but as we were riding on board with him, we did see him take back that second place. Schneider has gained during the pit stops as he goes to the inside. We've almost got 3 wide here. Now down the inside is Schneider, and he's going to have a much better line around a very narrow part of the circuit. And, well, this is going one way and then the other, as Schneider deploys a little bit of extra energy at the end of this lap. Now, does Christensen have anything to respond with? No, he gets up to now a second. You can see Schneider desperately trying to build up a gap. That is what he has done. And, well, Christensen, after holding on to that second place so comfortably, that mistake in the pit lane could well have cost him second spot on the roster.
Absolutely, yeah. It looked like Schneider used a lot of extra boost there coming towards that, making that overtake move, going 3 wide there, but it definitely worked out for him. And he's pulling away as well. Right now, 1.3 second gap on Christensen now, as Nicholas Schneider's just pulling away from Martin. Martin's got no opportunity to try to make up that gap.
Yeah, he may well have to rely on a mistake from his rival, because as I was saying earlier on, Schneider did close in significantly before the pit stops came. 15 more minutes of this race to go. And, well, yeah, we'll pop it to any battle. The GTEs calming down a little bit as Josh Thompson now comes in the pit. So, those few drivers who hadn't already pitted in the GTEs now making those pit stops. Marion Brabek, one driver, has also Marcus Deck, who we see just behind there. He hasn't pitted either, but Thompson's still in second place. Roth has pitted, so he's still quite a significant margin behind Thompson. Hefner just stationary now. He was having a good battle against Marshall, so it'll be interesting to see if he's managed to stay ahead of him. He's now rolling back again, is Hefner, and where is Marshall? It's going to be pretty close between the two of them, I think, as, well, actually, quite a bit behind still. So that's 22nd and 23rd overall, and Marshall to that place.
Still a good opportunity there that Hefner had. He has closed up the gap a little bit. It's still only 2 seconds of a gap, but it looks like that 2 second gap can definitely correlate to the pit lane time. As Ewan Marshall had a 35 second pit lane time, and Zachary Hefner had a 37. So it definitely, that 2 seconds definitely is going to hurt Zachary Hefner. But I mean, if he can run some clean laps, he might have an opportunity to catch up, especially with a lot of faster classes coming around you at the same time.
Of course, earlier on we saw Antoine Goulvon pit very, very early. He has been able to put himself back into 4th, 5th position, but Brabek and Deck are yet to pit as they now come into the pits themselves. So actually, Gourvon may have just put himself in a podium, probably not a podium position, apologies. Grabek will still be third, but Gourvon has put himself in fourth place. So actually, that really early pit stop, as long as he's got enough fuel in that car, I think, pretty sure he has. Well, that was a very good call because kept him out of the traffic, and well, he's going to get the best result possible.
Yeah, absolutely. It looked like he might be coming up the same. Whoa, it's Barbec's in the grass. What happened here? Oh boy. Why do I have a feeling he probably just spun the tires coming in to one?
Oh no, it wasn't that. He was
that was Schreiner. That was Nicholas Schreiner, I think. I want to say that was the number. It was.
Running in second position was Schneider.
That was a big hit. Wow. Wow, didn't see him coming at all. Oh, man.
Well, that's entered the battle for second and third. They were ever so close for Christensen and Schneider. And there, Schneider, I think you got to put the blame on him. It reminds me of, was it Bourdais and Massa back in 2008 when
or even as well Gutierrez and Perez incident at I want to say it was Bahrain during the night race where I think it was Gutierrez went on his lid. Either it was Gutierrez or Perez back in 2015, I want to say.
2014. Please let us know in the.
Because that's the one I was remembering where it was like the pit car came out, he had the clean room, and then the lead car just came in and just didn't see it coming at all.
I always remember the Fuji incident between Bourdais and Massa.
Yeah.
I think Bourdais compared it to leaving a red carpet out for when he was going past. So there you go. Yeah, of course. So I think in the end it was quite Schneider's fault. Could have left more room on the inside. Don't know if he thought that the GT was going to disappear, or maybe he was going to pass him way before the turn one, or maybe he was simply not in his line of view when he came out of the pits. But well, it's cost him very badly either way. And Yusubi is now only 2.5 seconds behind. Driver who started in 6th place could well recover a podium out of.
Absolutely, yeah. So you can see the gap dropping for Schneider. That right rear damage is going to really hurt Schneider these last 10 minutes of the race, and that was a pretty big impact too, especially with the 7 car. So we gotta have to definitely keep an eye on the 7 car, see if Brebek's able to keep in control of his car as well, and see if Brebek can hang on to a podium. As the gap now for Schneider and Yusubi is down to 1.8. So that damage is really hurting the 10 now, Nicholas Schneider.
Yeah, I think this is only a matter of time, unfortunately, from the perspective of Nicholas Schneider. On the last lap, we nearly saw him lose it at turn 1 once again. Almost a complete drift around turn 1. You can see how Yusubi is catching him hand over fist. Currently, 1.8 seconds. The gap between the two of them just down that one straight. You gain about 1/10 of a second, as we see the scattering of cones once again. You don't want to do that too often. You can get one wedged in your splitter. It can considerably cost you time down the straight, but at the moment it doesn't seem to affect these drivers too much, as just getting held up perhaps is Schneider in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, because that gap's now down to 1.1 now, as we're catching up on Josh Thompson now, as he's going to be cautious here getting around Thompson, and very clean pass there. Now Carlos can get right back on it, trying to catch up to Nicholas Schreiner again, as the gap's now up to 1.4, but that damage for Nicholas Schreiner, it's not going to help him as that gap's really dropping again.
Yeah, of course, remember, Schneider was running in 2nd place only probably 5 minutes ago. Of course, now that's a long way away. That's 15 seconds away. Martin Christensen is going to ease to that 2nd place. That's third that we need to concentrate on. Schneider versus Yusubi. Emerton is in 5th. We haven't spoken about him too much. He's only 9 seconds behind these guys, as I think this might just be the changing of the guard for Schneider and Yusubi for the final step on the podium. This is where Yusubi has got the advantage down this kind of straight section. 3 of them in the first half of the lap. It's down to 3 tenths of a second. He can take his time here. And Carlo Yusubi still got 6.5 minutes to go. Does the Pro Drive Shop racing driver. But right now, not going to make it. I'm sure we'll still try to put up a...
Yeah, I think this is going to be a definite big battle here. So I'm also keeping an eye on another gap of Ewan Marshall and Zach Hefner. I mean, that gap right now is a half a second as well. So still got some decent battles throughout the entire field right now. Mainly, our main one is going to be this one with Carlos Yusubi trying to find a spot where he can take advantage of the extra downforce that Nicholas Schreiber has in the back now. And Carlos should be able to, coming through this long straight here, he might have an opportunity to take advantage, but oh, as he goes a little wide there, he's going to lose a lot of time. Here comes the boost though, look out.
Pressing big red butts, past goes Carlo Yusubi. Nicely done there. Now, can Schneider respond? If he's going to be able to take a podium, he's got to respond straight away, but I think it's a done deal. And yeah, down into 4th place. Emerton on this lap has gained by 2 seconds. How long have they got to go? 5 and a bit minutes. Well, he's not going to get it comfortably. He's got to keep his head down, does Nick Schneider, if he's going to be able to hang on to that 4th place, because Louis Emerton, so not inspired start, starts only in 7th place. Well, he's looking a potential top 4 finish. But like I say, he's really got to put in some good qualifying laps now to the end.
Yeah, absolutely. But that time is dropping as Schneider is trying to hang on, trying to do whatever he can to keep that car together. As got a little bit closer battles too, with Schneider's trying to come back. It's within a second. And then we also got Carlos Labate and William Dreyer fighting it out too. That gap's also only a second as well.
Yeah, got this one, Melro versus Labate. And
Boy.
yeah, Andrew's only 2 seconds up the road as well. Labate's been really close to Melro pretty much the entire stint. Been within about a second and a half.
Yeah, and the GTE and the LMP1, that really made it difficult for Labate to try to make any kind of move. He did lose about a 1/10 of a second there. Just trying to avoid the LMP1 as the LMP1 was going by. So now it's going to be interesting as the LMP1 is going to try to get around Diego Melro now. That's the 21 of Ricardo Almeida. And he should be able to get around him cleanly this time. So this gap now is 2-second gap, right? Actually a 1.2 second gap for Carlos Labate, and both of them are closing in on Neil Andrews. The gap to Andrews right now is 2 seconds, but it is dropping as the laps are winding down.
Yeah, they were faster than both of the leaders on that last lap, so don't know if they're just maybe cooling down, but Andrews has certainly got to re-engage if he had just got a little bit disconnected from the race for a moment, because yeah, he's only 2 seconds clear. That last lap was 1.5 tenths slower. So, well, if he carries on at that rate, it's not going to be too bad. We've only got 3 minutes to go in this one. The LMP was just starting their final lap, so they should just about lap these guys. That's very important, of course, with the fuel and whatnot. So I'm sure their apps and whatnot calculating their fuel will be accurate. It's not an app. Their brain will be accurate. They usually leave about a lap spare of fuel, but could be quite close this, as Andrews just makes his move on the GT car. That was I believe, as Melro still 1.7 seconds now, so he is edging closer. So too is Labate, and well, just a little bit of extra anxiety at the end of this for Neil.
Yeah, absolutely. As I think right now, looking at where Matt Faro is, I believe right now he's just a little bit past halfway through the track. So I believe this should be, by the time he gets to the start-finish line, this should be white flag for Matt Farrow, or maybe not, as we got 2 minutes to go right now, and he's averaging a 131. This might actually be 2 laps to go, depending on his race pace. So, gonna have to definitely keep an eye to see what happens here with the time of when he crosses the line.
Yeah, this is going to be really close. The checkered flag here, or the finish line, does come up very quick, and you know what? This is going to be 2 more laps, because as we approach it, 58, 27, 28, 29, 30, as he starts his final lap now. So, yeah, going to be 2 more laps from here. He could cruise around, could Matt Farrow, if he feels like only doing 1 more lap, because he has got half a minute to the rest of the field. So that is an option for him, but I doubt he'll care too much. Marshall gets across Hefner. These two have been nose to tail for the entire race, and now they are properly going side by side. Hefner was ahead, but it seems as though Marshall may have just got this one done. But Hefner not giving up, he's on the outside, just turns in a little bit, and into the gravel he goes. The 15 car, well, he's going to lose out. It was nice to see a good side-by-side battle between the two of them.
We have another big interesting battle too, of Marcus Deck and Antoine Govan, but look at the replay now of you and Marshall. There we go, skipping on the brake, and just, well, that was an interesting view from there, so just maybe got a little bit later on the brakes, and that was definitely an interesting one there.
Yeah, it's an because he was just tracking himself ever so slightly to the left of the circuit. I think Hefner really should have left a little bit more room. I don't think Marshall was obliged to turn into the corner quite as early as Hefner did in the end. But either way, it's probably a racing incident. Deck under big pressure from Goulvant. Deck really did nail the pit strategy, went 1 lap longer, as we just see Matt Farrow. This is going to be the last lap for him, and there you go. Matt Farrow wins here in the LMP1 class. And well done to him.
Absolutely, as Tinsley's now working on his final lap.
Oh, I think Josh Thompson's just crossed the line as well, so that's it for the GTE class. Thompson absolutely dominating, and he's sure going to be one of, if not the favourite, for the World GT. And of course, starts on Monday.
And we've got a big GTE battle with Antoine Govan and Dennis Neidhart right now, coming near to the finish. Goldman's really coming out far wide. 24 is trying to hang on, and Marcus Dink coming down to the final stretch now, coming to the start-finish line, and it looks like Marcus Dink's gonna stay ahead of Goldman at the line. So that'll be your podium right there. Or actually, no, 4th and 5th, Marcus Dink and Antoine Goldman for GTE field for 4th and 5th. That was a good battle there right at the end between both of them as well.
Yeah, it really was. Goulvant did well to put so much pressure on him. Unfortunately, Robert Tinsley just got... no, he is still going, sorry. I thought he just got lapped. Neil Andrews was lapped, so Andrews and Murray weren't able to do final lap. As Tinsley, well, this has just been a parade lap. He could crash here, and he'd still win the race. But it's a nice little, celebration for him. Playing his hand outside the car, I'm sure, to wave to the crowd, which found this circuit pretty far away, I must say. But anyway, Robert Tinsley wins out. Well done to him. The top of the HPD drives, and he really did drive away from the rest of the field. We can now go through the final results here at Motegi. Matt Farrow winning the way in the LMP1 field, and of course overall as well, half a minute clear of Martin Christensen. He did well actually to finish in that second place after a bit of a sluggish pit stop. Carlo Usaby did well to finish in third. Nico Schneider only just held off Louis Emerton, who was charging at the end of the race. Of course, Schneider with an incident with a GT when GT came out of the pits. Emerton nearly caused him 6 seconds in end. Razgals in 6th place, Ricardo Almeida in 7th, and 1 lap down was Potter and Man, and in fact all the all the LMP1s did finish the race match. In the HPD, got Tinsley pretty much dominated that field, about 10 seconds clear of Neil Andrews, who had a bit of a dull race in 2nd place. Melray Havador Racing had to hold off Labartzi all the way. Dyer behind Hayden. A little bit of a disappointing race for him. Badly he twos in the GTEs. Josh certainly dominated once again. Had to get the move done on Samuel Roth early on, but then on the gap piece to them. Marion Brabeck started from dead last. He finished on the podium. Great recovery drive from him with Marcus Deck. A surprising fourth after not an amazing start. Again, he started quite low down the field, but does big fourth. And Wolverine was fifth. There's Neidhart in sixth, and there's Ewan Marshall and Zach Hefner. Those two great battle. So too did Pers and Janos. Unfortunately, a mistake for Janos ended that battle a little bit early. And then the only two times for the entire race were Aiden and Andres Lanza. Hopefully, we'll have interview with one or two of the judges. At the moment, haven't got anyone, but we will just take for a moment. Of course, like I said earlier on, Tyler, this is the last race that we're going to cover in this series for now. As actually, just hold that thought, we do have Josh Thompson with us now. And Josh, well done out there. You had to get that move done earlier once again, as we saw Circuit of the Americas a couple of weeks ago. But once you got it done, it was pretty much plain sailing.
Yeah, I had to get it done. Obviously, I didn't do much, I just turned up. So obviously, I know this track's on the World Championship calendar, so I wanted to get a bit of head start practice, really. So I knew I didn't have the all-round pace, I knew it would develop over the race. So I thought if I had the lead, I could control that, which I managed to do. Quite nice, I thought, so overall I'm quite chuffed with it.
Yeah, you should absolutely be. Of course, really the main mistakes that we saw out there today was kind of drivers dipping a wheel onto the grass and then losing traction. Would you say that's the biggest challenge about this circuit?
Yeah, there's a few places. I think after the S section up the hill, on the left there you can dip a wheel and spin it, and the double left after the double right, I think it's like turn 4, turn 3. There if you dip a wheel over the other side of the curb, the rear snatches, I did that. I think I did it twice in a row, 2 laps. I think like lap 13 and lap 15 or something like that. So it can catch you out. It's not even loads. It's just a tiny bit, and it just hits a bump and spins. So it's quite an easy mistake to do, actually.
Of course, we're going to see you in a couple of series. Well, we're on Apex Racing TV. We're going to see you in the World GT Championship. Of course, you're also doing the qualifiers as well, of course, or the proper pro series as well. Do you think with this car it's a matter of just doing as many laps as you possibly can, and eventually, you know, after 100 laps you may gain, you know, 100th or so? Or is it mainly the setup work that you're still trying to work on to gain that extra little bit of pace?
You can always improve in both areas. The setup, you can never say you've got the best setup going until you win, and we haven't won a VRS, like a pro qualifying race yet, so we know we haven't maximised that. Obviously, I can't thank the guys enough at Milano. They've helped so much with setup work. The commitment's been unreal. But also on my end, I've had to put a lot of time into the car. I've given up on, like, completely given up driving single seaters now, just to focus. And we are like mainly driving the Ford in the GT stuff, and then maybe the MX-5 and the Radical for the BSR stuff. So my main focus is all in the Ford, and at the moment it seems to be paying off in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. You really seem quite dominant. Of course, just a word on the World GT Championship. That's coming up on Monday. What's your kind of mindset to that? Is it kind of just win the occasional race, or is it kind of just accumulating points, challenging to, you know, take back that championship that you quite narrowly lost last season?
Oh yeah, I think this season, after media day, I was quite shocked. Obviously, it's media day, means nothing. It was not a 4-track, so obviously I know Carl and Sindre, Alex, I know a lot of them will be a lot closer. Watkins, the reverse grid's quite interesting, with it only being 20. So it again makes it even more important to finish. So overall, I think it's got to be as consistent as I was. Last season, I lost out a championship because I missed Bathurst, which I just couldn't afford because I was at the Sim Expo. Hopefully, don't have the 2 little DNFs which I had at the start of the season, and don't miss any rounds, and hopefully can bring it home this time. So I missed out 2 seasons now.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll certainly be wishing you the best of luck. And before we let you go, Josh, any thanks you'd like to give?
Yeah, you guys first off for broadcasting this series. Good job as always. Everyone at Movano, just can't thank those guys enough for the past few months. It's been amazing. Thrustmaster, Ground Field Simulation, and Freedom UK.
Thanks, Josh, and we'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
I think that's all the interviews for today, but just back to my point earlier on, Tyler, how this is going to be the last week that we're going to do the ILMS for now, at least. Of course, you've only covered a few races in this series, but I think you've got a pretty good impression how great this series is. You know, it's constant action. We rarely have a pause in commentary, and certainly, hopefully, we'll revisit this series soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with, I mean, some of the great drivers we had, some of the great racing that's been happening, especially with today. I mean, we had some decent battles throughout the whole field, and then, granted, some of those battles unfortunately got ruined right near the end. But it was overall, though, I mean, a lot of great passing, great overtakes. I love it. It's going to be the one thing I'll miss, but I'm really excited for what we have to expect for next week. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, next week is going to be the World F3 Championship. Similar slot to this. I think it's going to be 8:15. And it's going to be me, Tyler, and Sam, and maybe Mark. I'm not quite sure he's going to be doing the cameras for that. He'll be bringing you the action for that series. But of course, also on Apex Racing TV, we've got the Thursday PSR Winter Series tomorrow. And of course, we've got the first round of the UFV8 Supercar Series. One that certainly I'm very, very excited about. And on Sunday, we've also got the Apex Race Leagues 3.5 Championship. That's been very good so far this season. But of course, we'll have to say goodbye to you now. Thanks for tuning in for today's broadcast, and thanks for tuning in to any other ILMS broadcasts as well. I've thoroughly enjoyed covering this series, and we hope to be back soon. But from now, from me, from Sam, and from Tyler, we'll say goodbye, and we will see you